What has brought you here won't bring you there. If you want to actually experience change on the outside, you want to make more money, you want to have better relationships, you want to have a better job situation, you want to have a lot more freedom, it requires a shift in your identity because your identity creates your reality. But now, how do we shift that? In this video, I'm going to share with you one tool, one exercise that transforms my clients' lives over and over again. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Daniel, and I help agency owners and sales reps to transform their mental and emotional state in order to increase their results in business. If that was from 5K to 50K, or if that was from 15,000 to 150,000, all those people have one thing in common. And that is that they're all humans. They all have thoughts, feelings, emotions, identities. And in order to transform their results on the outside, it always requires a shift in their identity, in their beliefs, and of how they perceive themselves, because that will always determine on how they behave and act and stand up and wake up, and also the energy that they're in. In this video, I want to share with you that tool and the exercise that I help my clients transform of who they are. Before we dive into that exercise, it's important for you to understand that if you want to change, if you want to experience change or growth on the outside, obviously it requires, like I just said, a change internally. But that change means also that you have to let go of the version that you currently are. You can't stay the same person. That means a part of you has to die. You have to let go of a part of you. And this process, also called ego death, is not the easiest for most people. Especially subconsciously, people sabotage, especially founders, no matter on what level they play at. If they're like making less than 10,000 a month, if they're making 100K a month, if they're making more than that, they're all humans. And that means you shouldn't deny that your human aspects and attributes. So let's dive deeper into it. If we now want to shift those internal parts, we can use the outer world with awareness and say like, okay, look, I'm on this level and basically I want to experience that level. For me, it was that I always wanted to wear a certain watch, have a certain lifestyle, and so on. And I believed I have to just push harder and harder and harder. And the more I work, the more I suffer, the more I sacrifice, the more money I make. When I make more money, then I actually potentially in the future will be able to experience a certain lifestyle. But this scenario, this belief led me to the point where I kept earning, kept pushing, kept working super hard, like 12, 13, 14 hours a day. I made 5 figures a month. But at some point, it felt like a journey that never ended. I never felt truly satisfied and actually never really allowed myself to celebrate myself because there was subconsciously that belief it's not enough yet. I'm not ready enough. I need to earn first more. So that belief, that state I was in, that was the place I was operating from. Basically, how can I expect change in my life to happen if I'm constantly operating from the place of lack, of not being enough, not having enough? I would never feel ready enough, obviously, to actually live the life that I actually wanted. So now let's get to the exercise. My mentor confronted me and asked me why have I not lived all the pictures and desires that I actually had. You know, I've created my vision board and everything. And I had watches there, I had a car there, like, I don't know, a Porsche or a Ferrari. And I had a nice Rolex watch on it and so on, all these things, right? And travels, I wanted to travel. But no matter how much money I've earned, and it was like multiple 5 figures, I would not allow myself to live that. When he confronted that, I really genuinely felt sick. And I remember he taught me that when our body reacts, that shows already that there's a change, a shift, a confrontation happening internally, right? My body reacts on an internal shift. And that's also something that happens often with my clients, you know, that they then genuinely get sick for some time because there's an energetical shift and it has a ripple effect on like your physical level. And that also happened basically for me back then, because all of a sudden I recognized I just felt constantly not ready or unworthy enough of actually living the life that I actually desired. I believed it was only connected to the amount of work I've done, to the amount of money I've earned. And I remember when I realized that, I first was like, okay, what am I gonna do now? Am I like worthy enough of like buying myself, I don't know, MS sandals or some luxury items? And I felt insecure. I genuinely felt unsafe about that. And this shows your limit. This shows where your identity holds you small. What we want to do now is to consciously, first of all, obviously what I'm right now doing with you, also here sharing my story, is to realize where's my block, where's my limit, and then consciously use the outer world to confront that inner part that I want to transform. So what I've done from there is like I went to a store, I deliberately bought myself something that I always had on my vision board that I wanted to experience. And when I bought it, it can also be basically if you just go to a car dealership and you genuinely start to be interested in buying that car. Even if you cannot afford it yet, look at financing it. Look into, even if it does not make sense rationally, like basically if you buy yourself a watch or luxury items, you often can sell them again. But you want to get as close as possible to that reality that you live in. And you might observe that sense of unsafety. You might observe those thoughts that tell you like, that does not make sense. People taught me something else. My parents taught me to save money. My financial advisor told me to be resourceful, which all has a valid reason why people would tell you that. But we want to consciously stretch our identity to start feeling more safe with that new level, with that new world that we want to grow towards. So here I can invite you, get yourself a list of all the things that you want. And for instance, I really love watches. I really have a thing for watches. But I remember before I got my watch, I could have afforded it already. Like I had the money, but I wouldn't allow myself to. And even if I started to investigate it, and I remember my mentor was like, well, how does it feel? And I remember so well, I could have just bought it somewhere, but it did not feel like, it didn't feel the way I wanted it to feel. And here we can also recognize and learn, it's not the fact that I want this watch. It's what I actually desire is the experience of a feeling. It's the experience of getting that watch and being excited for actually finally buying and rewarding myself for that, which also shows me far more parts of myself, of who I am, what's important to me. And that cannot be only my limited identity, that can be genuinely a true part for myself. So I remember I had clients who bought themselves multiple watches before I even dared to look for a watch. So here you now can write a list, go to those places and genuinely investigate to invest into your dreams. Make them become a reality. And you will observe yourself. You might feel physical changes. You might feel anxiety. You might feel insecure, unsafe, and uncertain. But that is all part of the process of extending and expanding your identity into a new version of yourself. And observe what it does with you. It's important that you do that consciously because some people just do that and just continue living in their pattern. That's not what we desire. What we want is to consciously experience that and basically afterwards make a conclusion of, hey, we feel actually fucking proud of ourselves, or we don't really experience any satisfaction there, and there is already change happening. Because now, where is that change happening? You have awareness of that experience. As long as we don't have awareness, there is no growth happening. Therefore, what we want is to make this whole experience by being aware of everything that is happening underneath all the third dimensional experience, right? What is happening mentally and emotionally. For instance, I had another experience of mine where I was driving a G-Wagon, a Brabus G500, I guess, in Dubai. And I remember I rented it just for a day to drive to Abu Dhabi. I drove it, and driving it is of course a bit of fun, but when I sat into it, and I always was thinking, oh, when I have the money and when I have a place where I want to settle, I'm gonna buy myself a G-Wagon. But genuinely, I was so dissatisfied with parts of that car that I was like genuinely considering, well, maybe I should look for a different car, which also is an important experience because otherwise I would constantly keep myself in the loop of when I have enough money, then I might get myself this or that. And I constantly will reinforce that feeling of it's not my reality yet. But exactly this belief, this sentence, this proof that I get for myself, that I collect for myself, will just reinforce a state, a feeling, a belief of I'm not having yet. And this is so important that we then come to a place of ownership of like, currently, I don't even want this car. Currently, I wouldn't even choose that watch. Currently, I don't even want that house. Currently, I might just want to grow my business because that's genuinely important for myself. Or currently, or maybe I wanted this watch, but what I actually wanted is to feel rich. What I wanted is to feel valuable, is to feel worthy. For instance, that was a big topic for me and also many of my clients, is that they actually wanted to feel valuable. But no matter how much money they accumulated or how much luxury they accumulated, they did not feel more valuable. Obviously, it's just, a piece of material that they accumulated, but not actual self-value. And therefore, what we've worked on was exactly then shifting that and asking ourselves, okay, where do I want to become more valuable? And that's the actual work that matters. And that's where we then start transforming our identity step by step by step. So first of all, I hope you can execute that on that exercise. I hope you're doing that. I hope you take that serious and prove to yourself that you take yourself serious. That's step number one. Second, I really hope to get a feedback from you of how that impacted you, how that transformed your life, and hope you can observe that shift, that change happening inside you. Feel free to comment underneath that video. Reach out to me if you're looking for someone to help you transform your life, your results in business. You can book a call underneath this video with me. Looking forward to hear from you and see you in the next video.